Improving Legal Firm Productivity by Embracing Technology with Scott Stevenson, Episode 202.
Are you ready to make your law firm a profit-generating machine that will free up your time and skyrocket your impact? With more than 2 decades of business growth experience and having proven that you can be successful while prioritizing your family and your impact, introducing the Profit with Law podcast. I am your host, the creator of the Firm Differentiator 10X Effect, Moshe Amsel. Well, hello and welcome to another amazing guest interview here on the Profit with Law podcast. My guest today is Scott Stevenson. Now, Scott and I met on LinkedIn, of all places. I meet a lot of people there, and he is the CEO and co-founder of Rally. Now, I'm super excited to have Scott today because Rally is doing something really earth-shattering in the legal space, and I'm super excited to be able to dive into that with him to understand how and they're positioning this and how they're doing this for their clients. But I've been a long-time proponent of changing the way that you run the business model of your legal practice. And the sooner that we can figure out how to embrace technology and be able to make that not only valuable for our customers, but also valuable to us. So in other words, you don't have a motivation with the billable hour model, you don't have a motivation to put any sort of technology in place because the longer things take you, the more money you make. But the reality is that the clients, they want you to be savvy. They want you to be technical. They want to be able to be involved in their experience. They want to be able to have things move quickly. They want to see a firm that has embraced the 21st century. So we're going to have a conversation around what they're doing to allow you to monetize and profit from embracing technology. And that's why I'm super excited about this conversation we're going to have with Rally. Now, let me give you the official bio here. Rally is the easiest way for law firms to sell and deliver legal services online. Scott comes from a software engineering and product development background. Scott was initially frustrated with legal inefficiencies when he started a prior venture. He then worked on blockchain, smart legal contracts, looking for a solution that would enable more businesses to transact digitally and inexpensively. He realized that technology was a long ways from being able to be used by most lawyers or businesses and set out to build a new legal platform inspired by some of the ideas in blockchain, such as making legal agreements computer understandable. So before I jump over to invite Scott to unmute himself and say hello to you, I'm just going to take a moment and introduce you to some of our sponsors. We'll be right back. Finding amazing employees is the toughest job for any business, and especially for a law firm. You deserve to be the law firm owner you've always wanted to be, but you can't get there without a great team. Get Staffed Up helps you build your all-star team by staffing your law firm with incredible full-time offshore virtual assistants. Work with Get Staffed Up to save money and your biggest resource, time, while they find you the best English-speaking VAs in the world. Hashtag delegate your way to freedom. Learn more at www.getstaffedup.com/VIP. As an attorney, you want to get more done for your clients while converting leads into new business. But your days are filled with drafting documents, meetings, court appearances, speaking with opposing counsel, and making sure no one falls through the cracks. This leaves you with little time to focus on your business. Meet Lawmatics, the most powerful client intake and marketing automation CRM built for the modern law practice. With Lawmatics, you can win more business, impress clients, and be more efficient. Go to www.lawmatics.com to book your personalized demo and learn how Lawmatics can help you grow your firm. Thanks to our sponsor, Smith AI. Smith AI is a superior virtual receptionist service for small businesses. They specialize in working with solo and small law firms. I discovered Smith AI a couple of years ago and was blown away by the range of services, which are available at a cost any attorney, even those of you in the smallest solo practice, can afford. Their friendly receptionists respond to potential clients in English or Spanish, screen and schedule new leads, and even take payment for consults. The best part is, they don't just handle these conversations by phone. They also have live agents and chatbots capturing leads on websites and via text message. If there's one growth hack to your practice, this is it. Smith's friendly gatekeepers can staff your front lines. They'll capture new leads while you work uninterrupted. You can finally have the peace of mind that while you're working, you're not missing out on future work. Plans start at just $210 a month for calls and $140 a month for chats. They even offer a totally free chatbot, so there's no excuse. Try Smith AI today and see for yourself why attorneys like Justy Nickel in Colorado say Smith AI receptionists are the secret to business growth and client happiness. Smith AI offers a free trial, and podcast listeners can get an extra $100 discount with promo code ProfitLaw100. That's ProfitLaw100. Sign up and learn more at www.smith.ai. Trust me when I say, don't let another day go by. Try Smith AI. All right, Scott, welcome to the show.
Hey, Moshe. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
It's my absolute pleasure. And like I said in the intro, I'm really excited for this conversation because, one thing that really shook up the legal industry was this company called LegalZoom. Basically, the idea is that we want to empower the consumer to be able to drive their legal journey. And I think that is really what you're doing. So what you're doing is you're creating an opportunity for law firms to be their own LegalZoom, to provide a way for customers to kind of self-serve their needs as the first stepping stone into the legal environment. So can you, before we even start, just give me a little bit of a background as to who you are, how you got started in this, and then I want to dive into how does the technology work, and then we'll talk about the business model of it.
Yeah, sure. Sounds great. And before we get into that, I just want to say, your description of what we do, you probably just described Rally better than I describe it myself. Getting clients to drive their own legal journey. I love it. I want to hire you as a copywriter now after. That's really good. That's exactly what we're all about. I think clients want more self-service. They are picking up all sorts of alternative tools like LegalZoom and Rocket Lawyer and starting to hack things together on their own with templates from all sorts of different sources. We're trying to kind of give clients more of that self-driven experience, but with real experienced counsel actually providing them advice and overseeing the process. So that's a huge part of what the value we're trying to provide. And a lot of kind of firms that come on board with us are looking for an answer, to LegalZoom, looking for an answer to all of these other things that their clients are doing to get legal work done.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. I mean, before we even dive into how this works and how somebody would position it, are there specific practice areas or are there specific areas of law that this really bodes well to? And are other areas where you're like, well, this is just not for this practice area, this type of solution?
Yeah, great question. First of all, we are kind of all over the map. So in pretty much every sort of transactional type of practice area. Now we're not really involved in litigation. And we really specialize at that type of work that is monotonous and routine, and not those big, complex, super bespoke types of matters. So we help firms service their clients for that really routine stuff often. And a lot of that work is becoming either routine or becoming covered under like a subscription fee. And firms are trying to figure out how to increase the margin on that type of routine work. And so where that really applies, first and foremost, just like transactional business work, business legal, especially for SMBs. That's really our specialty. I'd say about 60% of our customers come from our business lawyers, often servicing SMB market. But we also have plenty of people doing estates and family law and other sorts of areas on our platform as well.
Okay. What about bankruptcy?
I don't think we have any clients specifically using us for bankruptcies yet today, but I could definitely see that being an application of
I mean, when I think of transactional work, where you're boxed into a corner as to what you can charge. I mean, at least with chapter sevens, there's limits on what you can charge. So if you can figure out how to streamline the process where you even eliminate some of the manpower and overhead that you have to do things manually in-house, the bankruptcy attorney doesn't need to be doing any of the document collection, which is 90% of the work in a bankruptcy. But if you can have the software take over even that piece of it, I can definitely see how that can be really substantial in changing the profitability of a bankruptcy a law firm.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a great use case. One we'll have to explore a little more.
So, all right. So let's talk about what does this look like?
Sure.
I'm gonna give you my understanding, my broad strokes, and then you tell
it.
me if I understand it correctly and where the gaps are. But then I want to talk about what does this look like for somebody as a law firm to start to implement, and what's involved, and then what does it feel like for the consumer? So my understanding is that you are able to template out documents, create a workflow where people are answering questions, which is then going to essentially finalize the thing that they're trying to create. So if they're doing a will, you're going to ask them input questions in order to be able to fill in the blanks in their will. And then when they're done, they basically have a completed document. Then you create a store on the front end where they can purchase that will. They buy it, they then get access to this questionnaire. And then I don't know if the lawyer then reviews it and gives their final, hey, this is an approved legal document that we've made sure it looks good, and then they go on their way, where essentially they've created everything themselves by having this already templated and workflowed in the back end.
Yeah, that's great. Actually, yeah, you clearly have done your research. So that is essentially a huge part of the Rally flow. We are a very kind of end-to-end suite. So we want from advertising your services to intaking your client to getting a happy client, and also kind of storing their information and data for the next time the client comes back. We cover all of that in kind of and we built the product from the ground up to do that. And I think a lot of people have become frustrated with, the number of legal tools out there and just how many tools you might have to stick together to make a workflow like that happen. So we are kind of I would say a wide and shallow product where we handle everything in that whole flow that you just talked about. And so I'll just go through it maybe in a little bit more detail on how this flow might work. So first, as you mentioned, we enable firms to kind of set up sort of a storefront or intake forms on their website. So the first kind of touch point for Rally is a client coming along saying, hey, I want a consultation, or maybe a business client says, I want to form a company or something like that. They can select that service from your website. They'll get funneled into Rally, fill out an intake form where you'll get all the information you need and be able to kind of get the info you need for a conflict check as well, which is important. From there, we are actually able to do billing. So we can actually charge upfront for these services by credit card if you want. So if you want to have like an online store experience where the client can just put in their credit card number and pay upfront for the service, you can do that through Rally. Or, if you want to do hourly billing or bill through another method, that's okay too. So that's kind of like the front end of the experience of capturing a new client coming into Rally. After that point, we have our automation engine. So as you mentioned, all that information that the client entered in the form can be used to generate documents based on templates. And so you're going to get to that first draft of the document right away. And there's really two things you can do. You can configure the system so that the law firm will then review the document and kind of massage the document to actually get it to where it needs to be. Or in some simple cases, you might even, return the document direct to the client and they can request a further review if they want. That's kind of the middle part of our workflow. And then the last part is we also allow kind of collaboration on the platform as well. So if it's a more complex matter, you might have back and forth and commenting, and you might need the client to upload some files, and you might need to send comments back to the client and the client to send comments back to you. So we have a matter workspace. Once you've generated those documents, you can collaborate with the client on those documents and get it to where it needs to be. Then you can send it out for e-signing. We have a great partnership and integration with HelloSign. So we can send the docs straight out for e-signing from there. And that's kind of, that's more, I guess, the middle part of the workflow. And the last thing I want to highlight is, we have this long-lived client portal, which is a really client-centric part of our platform. It's not just about delivering one-off services. For a lot of business clients who are on Rally, and being serviced through Rally actually can become kind of their hub. It can become where their minute book is stored, where all their kind of historical legal matters are stored. So we also want to make Rally very sticky, so that clients are retained and they keep coming back. So at any point, say a business client can log back in, get access to, you might have your minute book on there. We also have a button for the client to kick off new matters with you or to request reviews. So the client keeps coming back, keeps being able to access all of that valuable legal information. Maybe they're wondering when a sales contract expires or where that signed document is. They keep coming back, and then they're able to keep requesting services, and you're able to kind of track them as they keep logging back in and use it. And the last thing I'll mention is that the whole experience can be white labeled. So this kind of becomes like the interactive part of a law firm's website, where now your law firm's website can have a login button at the top. Clients can log in, request services, access their minute book, and all that kind of stuff. So that was a little bit long-winded, but that's
not at all.
Scope of the ground we cover. Yeah.
I think it's important to get the lay of the land, to understand, and I, this really paints the picture. My first question that comes to mind, and this is probably what people are thinking, is if I am in a transactional practice and I'm implementing Rally, is this replacing my practice management software? Is it intended?
Really good question.
To do that?
Yeah, and we get that question all the time, and I would say, no, it's generally not intended to fully replace it. A lot of our clients use Clio, Practice Panther, or any other practice management software out there. We just launched an integration with Zapier, so we're able to synchronize our data with your practice management tool. So we're not just operating in a silo. So if you need to, say, track hours on a matter, you can still do that and kind of synchronize with Rally. So it doesn't need to replace it. Now, I will say for some of our clients, it does kind of act as a replacement as well. But that's not really, we're focused more on the actual legal workflows and getting the legal work done. We're focused a lot less on, things like accounting and like hourly billing tracking and things like that. Yeah. And part of the reason we're less focused on, say hourly billing is because, a lot of our clients are doing subscription billing or monthly retainers and alternative billing, flat fee models and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because it almost feels like, it almost feels like this is supposed to be the client portal, but then if you have other non-transactional matters, now you've got to rely on your practice management software to be the client portal. Are you finding clients are expressing that they or their clients have confusion about where to send somebody depending on what's going on? I'm thinking like family law, where you can have the front end of your practice when you're first drafting separation agreements or custody arrangement papers or child support modification documents, stuff like that, where that's happening on the front end. But then if something ends up going and getting litigated, and then that's definitely going to happen outside of Rally. How do you navigate having two different places where things are stored?
Yeah, that's a good question. So first of all, we still can handle those more complex types of matters within Rally. It's just we don't provide as much value there because our automation engine is not particularly useful. So for some of our customers, they might still use Rally as kind of what we call our matter workspace to track and manage those matters and to share them with the client. I would say for most of our customers, Rally becomes their one client source of truth. So if they want the client to be able to access something, it will be done generally through Rally. They generally won't be using, say, a client portal in a practice management tool plus Rally's client portal. Basically, Rally kind of becomes the client facing part of the practice, and their practice management software becomes more like the back office and that sort of thing. So And again, the capabilities we're putting out for synchronizing with your practice management tool through Zapier would allow you to potentially just store that information and synchronize it across between both places. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, very interesting. So let's talk about the business model side of it. Let's talk about, how are law firms taking advantage of this capability that they now have? I could definitely see, a subscription model working really well with this, where you take a lot off of what you're doing. I have a friend who sells legal templates, and they're not a law firm. He's a lawyer. He's retired from being a practicing lawyer, and he basically has a subscription that he sells that provides basic legal templates for a specific niche, a specific industry. Is this something that would make sense for him to do? That would, instead of him, he's got like a document with yellow highlights of where you need to change what's in there, and a video explaining how to do it. This seems like it would be something that would be a better or fancier way of giving your clients access to these templates and being able to fill them out without needing to go and find all those locations in the document to make those changes. But beyond the subscription model or charging separately a flat fee for these documents, what other ways are law firms using to create their business model around this? And I'm looking for really exciting new ideas that we haven't thought of.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. And first off, on what your friend is doing, I would say that's an excellent example of what some firms and lawyers and solo practitioners are doing with Rally. And I think there's generally a sense, and every lawyer gets this sense at some point, that they want to be able to like productize their knowledge. Billable hours are great, but you only get paid when you work the hour. And I think this idea of productization has just taken over not only the legal industry, but so many industries of, can you rather than selling your hours as a person, is it possible to be more scalable and actually build something and sell it twice, or sell it 10 times, or sell it 100 times? And I think a lot of lawyers go through phases, and some of them get to a point where they're like, I would like to have some predictable revenue that's not tied to how much I work. Getting out of kind of this like feast and famine mode of like, I'm always looking for my next big billable hour project, and instead having like predictable, scalable revenue that can scale beyond the hours that you have in the day. That's the motivation that we see a lot of people having. And they say, hey, LegalZoom productized legal expertise. Why can't I, productize my expertise? So we enable a lot of attorneys to do that and to compete with LegalZoom and to compete with all these other players, and to have better work-life balance, at least in that part of their practice. So in terms of, I guess, the models that are using, I don't know if I have anything, earth-shattering ideas for you. I guess the big thing we do see taking off, I think more than most people realize, is kind of a monthly or annual subscription model, similar to a SaaS fee, which of course monthly retainers are not necessarily like a new thing, but there's an attitude that's growing that, my clients are going to pay me a monthly flat rate, and they're going to get all of this routine stuff is going to fall under that. And, anything that's extra, I'm still going to bill them hourly for. We're seeing that take off all over the place. And, some firms, a lot of firms think they're going to be like the first to do this, or they think this is brand new, but every tons of firms that we're talking to are talking the same way about shifting to that more of a subscription billing model. So I think that's,
and I'm going to jump in real quick and just share. We just had, I'm looking for it right now in the in our podcast archive here, because we just had somebody on the show who does exactly that, and we talked all about his business model, and his name is escaping me, so I'm looking right now on our website. Here it is. It's Challenging Paradigms in the Practice of Law with Mark Snyderman. Mark Snyderman is an attorney in the Pennsylvania area. And it's episode 175. So if you go to profitwithlaw.com/175, or in your podcast player, just do a quick search for Profit with Law, and then you can put in Mark Snyderman, and it'll come up. And we had a great conversation around how he's using subscription model for his business clients. And I mean, he's killing it, with that model.
Finding amazing employees is the toughest job for any business, and especially for a law firm. You deserve to be the law firm owner you've always wanted to be, but you can't get there without a great team. Get Staffed Up helps you build your all-star team by staffing your law firm with incredible full-time offshore virtual assistants. Work with Get Staffed Up to save money and your biggest resource, time, while they find you the best English-speaking VAs in the world. #delegate your way to freedom. Learn more at www.getstaffedup.com/VIP. As an attorney, you want to get more done for your clients while converting leads into new business. But your days are filled with drafting documents, meetings, court appearances, speaking with opposing counsel, and making sure no one falls through the cracks. This leaves you with little time to focus on your business. Meet Lawmatics, the most powerful client intake and marketing automation CRM built for the modern law practice. With Lawmatics, you can win more business, impress clients, and be more efficient. Go to www.lawmatics.com to book your personalized demo and learn how Lawmatics can help you grow your firm. Thanks to our sponsor, Smith AI. Smith AI is a superior virtual receptionist service for small businesses. They specialize in working with solo and small law firms. I discovered Smith AI a couple of years ago and was blown away by the range of services, which are available at a cost any attorney, even those of you in the smallest solo practice, can afford. Their friendly receptionists respond to potential clients in English or Spanish, screen and schedule new leads, and even take payment for consults. The best part is, they don't just handle these conversations by phone. They also have live agents and chatbots capturing leads on websites and via text message. If there's one growth hack to your practice, this is it. Smith's friendly gatekeepers can staff your front lines. They'll capture new leads while you work uninterrupted. You can finally have the peace of mind that while you're working, you're not missing out on future work. Plans start at just $210 a month for calls and $140 a month for chats. They even offer a totally free chatbot, so there's no excuse. Try Smith AI today and see for yourself why attorneys like Justy Nickel in Colorado say Smith AI receptionists are the secret to business growth and client happiness. Smith AI offers a free trial, and podcast listeners can get an extra $100 discount with promo code ProfitLaw100. That's ProfitLaw100. Sign up and learn more at www.smith.ai. Trust me when I say, don't let another day go by. Try Smith AI.
And we've been, I've been a proponent, as far back as like episode 20 of this podcast. And to give it color, I don't know the episode number of this interview, although my producer did send it to me beforehand, so it would be nice if I put it here. We're closing in on 200 episodes. So we've been talking about this for a long time, to find these alternative models to the billable hour, which you can't really get away from in litigation and really large, complex matters. But in any of these transactional practice models, and where you have some level of being able to predict what's going to happen by going into a flat fee or a subscription or some other or contingency, all of these alternative fee billing models allow you to look for ways that you can streamline, that you can push work down to the lowest the lowest cost employee that can get it done. And when you can find a software solution that's going to do it better than you could have done it, and improve the experience on the client side, that makes it a no-brainer. And that really is where you start to get the leverage. People, when they're looking at this, they're like, well, why should I charge somebody $4,000 for something that's going to take me 20 hours when I was going to charge them $200 an hour to do it? Let me just bill them the time and not have the risk of what if it takes longer than 20 hours. And if you're looking at it from that lens, you're missing the point. The point is that you can take the thing that would used to take you 20 hours, charge the same $4,000 for it, and instead of it taking you 20 hours, you can find a way to make it take you 5 hours. And now you've elevated your billable hour to almost $1,000 an hour when you were at $200 an hour in the previous example. So the idea here is to figure out how to position your firm with the right pieces of technology and with the right personnel to be able to streamline your practice. There's great examples that we've had, like Sam Malai is somebody who we've had on the podcast here before. He's got we did an episode with him on getting Google reviews, and at the time we interviewed him, he had something like 13 or 1,500 Google reviews, and now he's got over 3,000. How is he pushing so many clients through? He's not hiring additional attorneys. He created a system that is basically solving a problem, and all he's doing out there is he's pushing a massive amount of clients through to get this work done. It's a flat fee. They pay the fee, and then everything else is automated behind it, with whether it's virtual assistants that are doing it or whether it's a software that's doing it. He's created the system behind it to basically push this work through that it's costing him a fraction of what he's charging, yet he is so competitive in the marketplace because nobody else can do it that well, because he's figured out how to do it. It's kind of like, how did Walmart become Walmart? How do they charge their prices so low? How did they establish themselves as being the cheapest place to go to buy anything and the place to go where you could find anything? Because they figured out how to make things efficient. Look at McDonald's, and it's weird that I'm using these as examples in a conversation about law firms, but that's how you have to look at it, right? You got to figure out, how do I make this process cookie cutter? How do I make this process so that everybody is able to get moved through the same exact process, and I can just keep charging and charging for it, but we don't have to keep redoing the work every single time. And when you can figure that out, that's when you really unlock the potential of what your law firm can do in the respect of where the clients are going as far as their needs. And that's really important, because a lot of people have resistance to this because they're like, well, that's not what an attorney does. It's not why I became an attorney. I didn't go to school to be able to figure out how to create an assembly line where we're just pushing the people through the same thing over and over again. And the reality is that you have to look at the client. What is the client demanding? What do they want? And I think that's really where, Rally is very well timed in introducing themselves to the market, because this is where we're going. We're going into a day and age when people want things now. They want to be able to do it at 2 a.m. when they decided it's important for them, not when you have time for them. And they're going to go on Google and they're going to do a search and they're going to find the solution. And if you have the solution there for them to implement immediately, they're going to do it with you, as opposed to waiting for a week or two for some law firm to fit them in to do a scheduled call where they might even have to be paying a couple of $100. Now they've already solved their problem with you for $1,000, and it's done by the time that you wake up in the morning. So, that's where I think we need to put ourselves in that position and be there for that. And I think that ultimately that's really what you do.
100%. I couldn't have put it better myself. Those are all the things that we're thinking about and that our customers are thinking about. And another interesting point I make is that this doesn't necessarily mean the end of, high expertise bespoke matters. A lot of the firms that implement Rally are, there's a part of their practice that is routine, monotonous matters, and they want to capture that. But the reality is, because they're capturing that routine work, when one of their business clients has something big come up, they're the first to know about it. They're the first to be able to jump on it. And they're still able to capture that big hourly billing, billable hour type work as well. And they're able to find those big hourly billing opportunities if they're using a tool like Rally, because they're tapped into what the client is doing, on a routine basis. Whereas
it also gives you exposure to a larger market, because when you're pushing more people through the easy stuff, that's giving you exposure to a larger quantity of potential clients who might need the bigger stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
And the other thing is that you're now spending your time on the things that really require your time. So it's not just about you feeling accomplished about what you're doing, but it's about the client feeling like they got true value with the work that you're doing. Before, when you were charging them $4,000 for 20 hours of work or whatever, I'm just keep going back to the same example, right? They knew that you were spending 20 hours to do this thing, which to them might seem like, why the heck am I spending why is the lawyer spending so much time doing this when they should be doing this for every client? This document should be something that's already created. Like, why in the world are they doing it from scratch for me? Your client is left with thinking these things in their mind, whether or not it's being discussed with you, whether or not they're complaining about it. People are not stupid. They know it's available technologically, and they left scratching their heads why my attorney has to do all these things manually. And you are now removing that from the client journey. And the client is now understanding that when they're paying you hourly, it's for things that you absolutely have to be doing for them manually and be spending your time on, and they see the value in that. So it also makes for a better experience when the client is paying you hourly. I think it's beautiful. I think it's it really marries everybody's needs and understanding the values, and doesn't create this constant tug of war of, what am I getting out of this relationship?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think another, just important point, which you kind of touched on, is that, a large part of the legal market is just kind of untapped today. I think Clio put out a stat in their annual report that basically 70% of those that have run into a legal issue or who need help with a legal issue don't get in touch with a law firm or a lawyer. That's 70% of the market that just feels they can't afford legal services today. And that's people, but it's also businesses. And I know from, knowing a ton of different business owners and people who are running startups that they're hacking stuff together themselves that they shouldn't be. They have anxiety about picking up the phone and calling a lawyer. They think they're going to get a big bill. I just think there's a massive opportunity to bring down prices on certain services, but expand demand dramatically and just have more volume, more clients, more people are starting businesses than ever. There's just a massive opportunity to tap into if we can make legal services both accessible and affordable, more accessible, more affordable. And the accessible part is really important too. I think a lot of firms don't realize just how big a deal that kind of getting an instantaneous solution is for a lot of people. How impatient society has become because of digital technology. We become extremely impatient, with technology like Uber and Netflix and ordering Uber Eats and ordering food. Everyone wants everything in kind of a push button fashion, and legal services have not yet kind of evolved to meet that type of delivery. We see a lot of people who are really concerned about building a relationship over a long time, and building that relationship is a big part of the service. And to an extent that it is quite important, depending on what the type of matter is, and sometimes you're dealing with some of the worst issues that your client has ever gone through in their whole life, and a relationship is important for that. But for a routine business matter, getting incorporated, sometimes people are looking for more fast and impersonal experience, at least to get started.
Right. I think it's very interesting because there's a few points I want to go back and touch on. One is, first of all, at the end of the year, we did a predictions episode for what we think is coming in 2021. And I talked about this exact point, that we're in a day and age where we want things now. And I use the exact examples that you did of Uber, Instacart. The pandemic has accelerated that. It's really opened up our eyes to the fact that we never need to step foot in the supermarket again. And even though it costs a little bit of money for that convenience, there's a ton of time that we have purchased back by having somebody else go and do my shopping for me. And Amazon, I mean, like literally when we need something, we're not with free shipping, we're not waiting until we have a whole shopping list. We open up the Amazon app and we put in the item and we order it. We don't even think twice about it. It's just, oh, we need it. Okay, order it, done. And now it's, we're not at 1 hour delivery, at least not where I am yet, but, Amazon was working on that in major metropolitan areas, but even 2 days is not, now we're seeing things next day. I order it at 11 o'clock at night, and then 2 o'clock in the afternoon the next day it's at my front door. We're freaking spoiled as a population of people that want things done and want it done immediately. And I think that that's really, really true. This is the way to bring those clients in, because the firm that has this out there, for somebody to just self-serve and do it on the spot and get it done right away, is the one that's going to come out a winner. And I think the other thing, the point that you made that's really important to talk about is the relationship, right? Who says that the relationship has to come first?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Nobody said that you can't develop a relationship with somebody who went on your website, bought a document, and never spoke to anybody in your firm. You can have a process behind that the next day they get a phone call from somebody at the firm saying, hey, we noticed that you went and purchased one of our templates. We wanted to see if you got everything resolved. We want to see if it worked for you. What other needs do you have? We'd love to set you up with a client success manager to introduce what we do at the firm and see if there's anything that we can do to help you further. And you can start that relationship after the transaction. It doesn't have to be before, and you can still do that. So, I think that's a great plan, if you're going to put this out there, is to have that behind it. I did, my trademark attorney, Joey Vitale, the indie law firm, I had him here on the podcast. They're also very electronic, very transactional, and it's not a very let me have a relationship with you kind of experience. And I'm going to say something good and I'm going to say something bad, not calling him out, but just sharing what I experienced and why I think that we need to really approach this from both sides. When I signed up with them, like literally 2 days later, I got a package welcoming me to the firm. And it was really nice. It was thought out. It was very specific to their firm. And I don't remember the exact contents, but there's a podcast episode I recorded about it, which hopefully we'll link that up in the show notes because I don't have it in front of me. But that was, to me, even though it was not a personal experience, that was a very personal experience to receive that and to feel like I was wanted or desired by that firm. So you can have something like that implemented where right after, and this could all be automated. There's fulfillment companies that will do this. And with Zapier, you can have it automatically pipe their information into placing an order to have this thing shipped to them. And it happens without any human involvement whatsoever. It's just unbelievable what we can do with the technology today. But the other thing is they communicate through the portal. And recently I experienced, this is actually the second time I experienced it with them. They sent me messages and I missed the email.
Right.
So my thing was waiting for input from me. It was sitting and waiting, and it just waited. And then they sent me a reminder email, which I also missed. So I finally got the third email that they sent. Now we're 3 months later, and I'm first addressing something I could have addressed 3 months ago. So I sent them a note and I said, hey, by the way, if you don't get a response from me, why don't you pick up the phone and call me? Like, here's my phone number. So I think that we have to be careful about going to an extreme and forgetting the other way of doing it. There has to be 100%. A balance. There has to be a way to not just have it automated, but to also have the human experience and to see where it makes sense to balance those two together and put those measures in place to make sure that you don't have a client who's left drifting because you relied on technology so much that you're not serving them. And I think that we need to be careful about that as we approach this new frontier of how to serve our clients.
Yeah, no, I totally agree on that point. And but the ideal scenario is, if you can take that kind of monotonous, laborsome work off your plate, then you've got much more of your day to have those kind of personal touch points with your clients. So, if less time do the monotonous drudgery means more time that you're able to call up, an important client and give them, that kind of special, meaningful, impactful call that they need.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, another thing I wanted to ask you is, what's the competitive landscape? I mean, is anybody else doing what you're doing? I know that we had, and I don't want to pit you against anybody, but we had a podcast interview in the past with Tucker Cottingham from Loya. I don't know if you're familiar with their product. And that episode is Let Your Clients Do Your Drafting. How's that for an idea with Tucker Cottingham? And you can get it at profitwithlaw.com/160. I believe that they are positioning their product to be something that just automates the drafting process, but it's really intended to be used internally or to be used in-house. And it's not really intended to create that storefront and to create that self-serving thing on the front end. If I understand it correctly, I'm curious to hear from you. How do these compare to each other, and is there any other players in the space? And what differentiates Rally? What makes Rally the tool to use for this solution?
Yeah, great question. Well, I guess as any founder would say, I'd say there's nothing quite like Rally out there to our knowledge. But certainly there are a lot of great legal tech products, and there's a lot of activity happening in legal tech right now. Lawya is a great product. I'm not an expert in it, but I am quite familiar with Lawya. I think it's really good at what it does, and they've had a ton of success. To my knowledge, yes, Lawya is much more focused on strictly kind of automation, and they may have client questionnaires as part of that as well, but they're much more focused squarely on automation, where we have a big part of Rally that's focused on client collaboration, the client portal, and clients kind of kicking off and requesting work, which I think is quite unique to us. And just the way that we tie everything together in that one flow is pretty unique. And yeah, we're probably going to make it so that we can tie into other automation engines as well in the future. If people prefer to use a different automation engine, although ours is pretty powerful too.
Well, you just opened up Zapier, so that should really allow you to start tying into a lot of these things, even without direct connections to them.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd say, what makes Rally really special, and part of our long-term vision is we're really focused on providing client value, and not only clients kicking off work, super important, getting them in the door, super important, but creating reasons for the client to keep coming back and for them to almost start seeing this it's kind of like they're, in accounting, small businesses have QuickBooks or Xero, they have their accounting software, and that becomes their hub for their accounting and bookkeeping. We almost want to see for these firms that Rally for their clients kind of becomes where they go to access their historical legal work, and where they go to say, even to get some lightweight contract management type features, oh, when did I sign that? Or when was the expiry date on that? So all of this kind of client value we're trying to pack into Rally, I think, is what makes us really special. And for subscription lawyers, that's great because it's this value add in the package. So, a subscription-based lawyer might be charging X thousand a month for their service. And now they get to say to their clients, hey, as an added bonus, you get this great legal portal where you can log in, you can access your minute book, access all your historical contracts you've done with us. We're even making it so that law firms can actually build clients for the client to use on their own in a more controlled method. So of course, lawyers do that already. They'll build a Word template and say, okay, use this for your sales. And the client will go off and use it 10 times, and the template will get really messed up over time and end up in some horrible state. Whereas with Rally, they can give the client a library of templates that they can use on their own and kind of control that experience a bit more. So it's that kind of stickiness, that client value, and just the client loving that they now have a hub to go to deal with all their legal matters, that in a way that they enjoy. I think that's what makes Rally really special. And I don't think anyone out there is quite doing something like it. I'd say HiQ is like a comparable sort of product, although HiQ is very broad and you can do a ton with it. But obviously HiQ is really targeted at bigger firms, bigger companies, and a lot different sorts of matters, I think. Yeah.
Right. Now, let me ask you this. Do you have any sort of training, onboarding process to help somebody get started? And does that include helping them try to figure out the business model around the software? I imagine that a lot of people who are going to think about implementing Rally might not have that figured out yet. And they might be looking at, some people buy the solution, the technological solution, before they have the business model in place. And we can argue whether or not that's a good move. But the question is what kind of support can they expect from Rally in that process if they were to move forward with implementing your software?
Yeah, that's a really, really spot on question. And actually, we just put out a blog post on our site a little while ago talking about how, how implementation and figuring out the business model and changing habits, that's 50% of the battle. Like we're not going to present the illusion that all you have to do is buy Rally and magically, you're going to have an online store and you're never going to have to work a billable hour again. And the people are just going to start coming in and buying your services. There is a lot of work beyond buying a product like Rally that you would have to do to make a model like this successful. And so we do provide a ton of support on that. And I'm pretty confident saying the amount of support we provide is very significant because we're a smaller company and we're not trying to take on everyone right now. Like we're not trying to take on every interested customer. We're trying to be very focused and work with people who are really aligned with how we're thinking about things. And so we're able to kind of smother our customers in a lot of support. And what that will typically include is you'd have a dedicated customer success manager. We'll typically have weekly or bi-weekly touch points where we're walking through the implementation with you. We do training for the document automation engine and setting things up. So we'll offer as many training sessions as your firm needs. We also have a document automation concierge service. So often for our customers, we will provide support in automating your documents for you. So all you have to do is send us the precedents, put some comments on them in Word, and our team can actually automate those docs for you. So that's another part of it. And then in terms of the actual business and the kind of strategic side of it, we do have a marketing resource that will often put on customer projects to help figure out the marketing side of things. So he'll come in, help you figure out, how your funnel, your online funnel, digital funnel should be flowing to get traffic to go into Rally. And that could include digital advertising strategy, just kind of general website and funnel design, all that kind of stuff. And we also have a number of different partners, like marketing partners, who we can bring in to kind of coordinate with us in helping, like bolster your online marketing. And I'd say that's generally where firms looking at Rally need the most support beyond Rally is they often do figure out the business model pretty well, but it's, they're trying to get clients in a more digital way. We're still in the midst of a pandemic and you can't go out in the real world to get clients. So people are trying to figure out how to build online marketing funnels that are going to bring clients to their site and to sign up for their services, through a product like Rally. So
yeah, it's not an easy task at all to get somebody to just sign up online without ever having any conversation with you, but it's definitely a possibility. Very cool. This has been a great conversation. I think we're just about out of time. So Scott, thank you so much for spending it with us and really giving us a deep dive into what's possible. And kind of, I think more importantly than anything else, it's starting to having these kinds of conversations, it really starts to open the minds of our listeners to possibilities. And I think if nothing else, if you can start to imagine things can be done a different way, relationships can be had a different way, and you start to delve into and think about what that looks like for you in alignment with what you're trying to create, I think that's a really good and healthy place to get started. So I love this conversation that we just had, and I really like what you're doing with the product, and keep at it. I'm going to ask you two things before we close this out. Thing number one
Sure.
is how do we follow up and find out more about you or the product? And number two, if you have one parting piece of advice to our law firm owners listening to this, what would that be?
Yeah, great questions. So number one, the place to go to find more information about Rally would be rallylegal.com. That's RALLY legal.com. There's a demo form there. So if you want to see a demo of Rally, you can just put in your information and schedule a demo right there. And one piece of advice for law firm owners, I'd say, I think the most interesting thing we're seeing this year is just this trend of subscription-based billing growing. And I don't think most people realize just how big a shift this could be for the industry. Specifically, that's, I would say, in business and transactional business work where we're seeing that. So I guess my advice to those lawyers would be to take that trend seriously and talk to your clients, see what they're looking for. And see if that kind of flat fee recurring monthly arrangement might be something that your clients would like to use.
Awesome. Well, Scott, thank you so much. We're going to link up the what you shared with us, how to get in touch with Rally and how to find out more about the product in the show notes. And once again, thank you so much for spending your time with us today. This has been a wonderful interview and really insightful to learn what's out there and to think about how our clients are shifting what their desires are, shifting how they shop for it, and understanding how to start to play into that and to position our law firm for that. So this was a wonderful conversation, and I'm looking forward to continuing it as we bring on additional guests in the future and as you get to listen to me. So folks, if this is the first time you're listening to the Profit with Law podcast, hopefully we have just turned you on to a new show. Hit the subscribe button in your podcast player so that every time we go live. We're here twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday, and I hope to see you again on Tuesday when you get yours truly talking about who knows what. We also we thrive on reviews, because when somebody checks out the show, they want to know if it's worth listening to. They're going to look at the reviews. And as you know, with reviews, quantity and quality matters. So if you could take a moment into your podcast player and give us a rating and a review. So write something besides for giving us the stars. We'd really appreciate it. We could use more of those. We can always use more of those. And one little minor thing, a little moment out of your day can really make a difference for somebody else, who then goes and reads your review and says, hey, this is something I'm going to listen to. And now we make them a successful law firm together, you and I, in that partnership. Folks, take care. I'll see you on the next episode.
That's it for this week's episode of Profit with Law. If you have enjoyed the show, please consider sharing it with at least one person. Imagine how many lives we can change if we each shared this episode. Another way to share the episode is on social media. We appreciate your support and look forward to you joining us again next week.